Well, indeed, it's big, and a reason for us to talk about it on the big story for today. We're talking about the 100 days in office of no other but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. How has it been thus far? And we're looking critically at the economy. Hasn't been really nice for Nigerians. So, well, we've really been feeling the impact of such huge and very straight policies of no other but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, that's what's taking center stage on the show today, and I still have our economist, Gideon Oguns, right here helping out with the discussion. But you know it's only timely and right I called for our sponsors, and I'm talking about Benita Gas, located right here in Lugeli, and also Kokoga and Warrior and Environs, that were proud sponsors of the big story. Let's have their message then.
Hey, Welekete, how person want to talk about gas matter? Make Beneta gas plant no sit down for a matter. Gas when we say it dey light and last well. Now Beneta gas plant na filamo. Gas when the full rich mark pek. Now Beneta gas plant na filam, and for any type and size of gas cylinder plus all accessories. Now Beneta gas plant na the touch lighter. Now every day now Beneta gas plant they open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. On top refill matters. Oh yeah, make you visit any Beneta gas plant branch. You fit enter inside of Kwisoko off Jakba Road, opposite UBA for PTI Road Efru, Nehemiah Junction, near former Army checkpoint for Okwokoko, or 101 Ajami Moga Ekpe Road, Wari, or 145 Ugeli Patani Expressway by Aviation Junction when carry eye, they look Shikiman and NNPC roundabout for Isoko Road for Sergeant Quarters for Ugeli. For more information, make you call Beneta Gas Plant for 080-6745-7890. Beneta Gas Plant. Na God, they our back.
Well, the big story, like I will always insist, is big enough to accommodate all your businesses. So why not just come over and let's see how we can talk business, and definitely you'll be on the big story. But anyway, it's still on, and we're talking about the economy thus far under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu 100 days in office, and looking at, like I said, bittersweet experience Nigeria has gone through over these 100 days in office. But anyway, he's right here in the studio and not in office, as I will say, and helping out with the discussion. I'm talking of no other person but Mr. Gideon Oguns. Let's quickly come back to it. But in case you're joining us now, we've talked a great deal. We looked at two major policy statements of this very administration, policy rather, and we're talking about the removal of forced subsidy, which greeted Nigerians on that very inaugural day of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And not just only that, but the floating of the Naira, and removing those two parallel windows and dealing with the issue of racketeering being made by those just giving unnecessary price rate, especially as it concerns the Naira to the dollar, and how that has really impacted on the economy. Has it been a nice experience, or do you feel, well, we've not really have the gains attributed to those policy being made by this administration? But anyway, let's continue with the discussion and still look at some majors that seem to have taken place. Each of the 36 states in the last 6 months have received nothing less than 1.15 trillion each. That's what they've received in the last 6 months, according to NITI, a report we monitored just yesterday morning, and basically in the papers also. But that's not where my question lies, but rather another money they've received, and the 2 billion naira as palliative being received by them from the federal government to deal with the issue of fuel subsidy removal. But I'm also do know that SERAP has already taken the governors to court on Friday on account of them to come truly explain. But that will force me to my next question. Is it a right policy statement and move by this administration to have given that 2 billion to the state governors? And do you feel that would really have done relatively well in cushioning the effect of the subsidy removal? Because we're still talking about the economy. Did it have any economic impact on the lives of Nigerians?
Okay. So we started by saying the policy on fuel subsidy removal, at the day it was removed, should have waited for some things. Now, it had been removed and people are suffering. And as a listening government, I want to give that to this Tinubu'S administration.
Okay, he listened.
He listens.
And hence brought the palliative.
And once he is convinced that what the people are saying is right, he goes to do it, regardless of political affiliation.
Why do I have a feeling you are likening it to the former administration?
I want to be careful here.
Okay, go ahead.
I am just saying what I am seeing.
Okay.
if he was not the listening and an apolitical Democrat, he would have given it only to APC states.
Okay.
You can't hold him. He will have looked for a name, and just like we have seen before.
Well, now you're likening it. But then we continue.
So the point I'm bringing is, because he listened, he knew that people are suffering, and decided within himself and his people on what to do to cushion. And imagine, I will add all that you said. From May, okay, let's say from June, allocation to states have improved.
Very well.
Meaning they have more money
Than they used to.
that they can now put to at least reduce, mitigate the suffering of people at the state level. Remember that the federal is very high up there.
Yeah.
The states and local government are
Will help to
actually
trickle
those
it
that
down.
will do things that can reach the individual quicker. And so he have moved. He will have kept that money, like some people told us, sovereign wealth. But he decided to be sharing it.
Okay.
Now, the impact of the sharing, whether it have reached Mike, is what Mike will say. Now, for the palliatives themselves, yes, there are states that are doing so well with theirs.
So you feel it's a
There are
right
states that
directional
are doing
policy
so well.
of that very
Niger
palliative?
State,
Yeah.
Borno State, Bauchi State, they are doing so well with their palliatives. They even come on air to tell you what they are doing,
With it.
which is the information Serap is even begging others to bring. But some states are even denying
That they've received.
that they've received. When we know that it was meant for the 36 states. So for those that have agreed they receive, or should, and they are doing something with it, the life of the people is reflecting the fact that there is a palliative. But for the places where there is denial, or there is unholy silence,
Unholy. I like that word.
you cannot find an impact.
And I will not force you to name the state.
I don't stand.
Okay, well, let me just continue. Don't mind me.
Basically, that is, but talking about it economically as a nation. Now, when things are rough, we say that the only way you can, the quick fix for inflation is actually to stimulate the consumer.
But my question, you just talked about stimulate. This palliative, did it have any stimulative effect on the economy?
If you will listen, you might see it.
Okay.
Now, if you stimulate the consumer, what would that mean? You make more money available to the consumer.
Okay.
So, forgive me if I use Lagos State, who says there is a mass transit program on ground for which, if you are a civil servant or whatever, you are supposed to pay 50% of the price. That leaves you with the other 50%
for yourself,
for you to do something else. Now, if you were in Borno and the palliative is made in such a way that you are given what can make you to return to the farm, so that you can produce, then automatically at the time you will have spent 5 naira, but you are now spending 250, the impact will be there. So economically, for those that are using theirs positively, the impact is being felt. It makes money to remain with the consumer, and so he can purchase just the same way he can produce. Because when you don't go to work, if you are a civil servant, it means you are not producing.
Of course.
So with more production, we'll get to where we are going.
But do you know, less. Yeah, but do you know there are others that believe that these over 100 billion naira being given to state governors would have been properly or better channeled into other ventures that would have a better spread to Nigerians. And one of such is the issue of the refineries. Many feel that rather than giving these palliatives to the governors, which some have been silent about and others have said it's for a category of certain persons, they feel it would have been gone into refineries. And funny enough, this administration have not made mention of anything on refineries. The only statement we heard from them was the issue of the Port Harcourt refinery that will come on stream in December. So there's this great belief by some other economic experts that feel that that money would have been channeled into refineries. And would refineries not be the best way to go? Judging with even a statement coming from Ipman just last week indicating that if these refineries or we locally refine our petroleum products, it will go as little as 200 naira. So should that not be a new directional thinking of this administration in dealing with the economy?
Mike, you have your point here.
Okay.
The truth is, if the people are not alive, of what use will be the refinery? So the first issue of palliative is that the ordinary masses are suffering, like a common slogan, hashtag now, let the poor man breathe. So the palliative is just to keep you
and a new slogan is the air there to breathe in. But anyway, just go ahead. Yeah.
So it's to keep hope and individuals alive.
Okay.
Why the strategic developmental plan is actually on. If you look at the statement that backed the palliative declaration, he said, why this will be going to states, I don't want to be too categorical. He also said a quantum will be going to businesses. A quantum will be going to MSMEs. So if in reality the businessman can access a palliative, the larger companies can SMEs attract and all of that. A palliative, then the issue of job losses and all that will have been addressed, which keep the ordinary citizen like me and you afloat. Why the issue of refining and capital projects have been discussed. Now, without holding forth for the government, please. The budget for 2023 have already been passed.
So little or nothing.
So there is very little capital-wise that this government can do, except
but can't they go for a supplementary budget?
Except maybe move for a supplementary. But what this government is trying to do is trying to revamp where were we. Let me quote a minister now. The Minister for Works, for example, have told all contractors to bring their contract proposals. He wants to see why some of them are calling for review. What was the timeline, for instance, that was given for this project? That is the way to go. So if it is indeed needful, then we can begin to talk of a review. If the lack is because of you, why should I pay for your inefficiency? So those are the kind of things we are saying. It will not come with rocket science, but there is much to be done once it has to do with capital. It's not just a fiat, and there is no magic wand. For refineries, I believe that he's not sharing the so-called recoveries he's making. I'm sure there will be a detailed plan of where to plow those monies. Because you can't put, for instance, 72 billion naira into any of our refineries and you will see a
turnaround.
Let's be honest to ourselves. We have always heard turnaround in dollars. What we are talking about is in naira. So if you take that to dollar, you see that the value will come to millions. So I believe since the money will not be able to do, why tie it there? It will be another dream.
Okay, now for you, what would you call as a negative that this administration has done as it concerns the economy?
Too slow.
Too slow?
Yes. I expected the pace at which he made that statement to be the pace at which other things that will follow will have come. For example, the unbundling of NNPC, the implementation of the PIA, to ensure that all the loopholes, the lacunas that make the cabal to exist by now should have been dismembered. Like you said a while ago, by now EFCC and ICPC or even the Nigerian police will have been out there looking for the Nigerian loots that are still within Nigeria, and Interpol helping us to look for the ones that have gone abroad. This way we can recoup them and channel them into something, but that aspect is still very low. I expected that by now, a definite statement will have come out of the CBN Emefiele's case, let me put it that way, so that the clarity of what went wrong by now should have been known to all and sundry, and ways to make sure that it does not repeat by now should be. Oh, it's not so. Bawa is still in detention. For how long?
Okay,
it is the pace at which certain things that will have now galvanized what you to bring it to glory. Economy. That is, I have a problem with that.
Okay, no, as much as you feel you have a problem with that, he came out on the 14th day of June 2023 to keep or give an 8-point agenda. And I've given out that 8-point agenda in my inaugural statement as I introduced the program. But I'm not going to go there. Or rather, I'll ask you just a slight question on that. Now, looking at that inaugural, or rather 8-point agenda, if follow through, do you feel it to make a change? That's my first question. But my basic and main question is his appointment. Because policies are as important as drivers. If you have persons driving the policies you've instituted, most certainly gains will come. Now, my question, we have one of the largest ever ministers being appointed since the Fourth Republic came on board. And 45 ministers indeed is a large number. But let's look at those that are saddled with the responsibility of driving the economy. Are you quite comfortable with his appointees that will help push the economy?
Why wouldn't want to rescreen those that the Senate has screened?
I love the way you put it, rescreen.
But looking at them in line with assignments and expectations, I have hopes that a few of them will do well. Now, for instance, the creation of the blue economy is something that he thought out of the box.
We've never had it before.
We've never had it. And he has been able to bring out what exactly the blue economy should do. And if you read the news, you discover that the minister there is always having an interaction between the customs, Nasima,
MPA.
whatever. So you discovered a chunk of, there's another cabal in that world that are just harnessing Nigerian money to their benefit. So, and if that minister is able to deliver on that, from what we read, is supposed to be generating income just like tech is generating. So if truly it generates, by reason of putting a minister there who knows and understands and ensures that it brings, then we have gotten another major foreign exchange earner added to crude oil. So that you can give to this administration. Now, putting somebody who had a track record of performance in setting of the ministries. You just talked about the Minister of Finance.
And coordinating
minister. That is somebody who is a technocrat. And if you check his background, have been able to deliver in certain things.
Especially in government.
So, I believe that if he does not slack, then, since revenue is one of the major problems of Nigeria, and now you have put in someone who to date, I don't know what tomorrow will be, hadn't failed in bringing ideas on how to generate revenue. So that looks like a square peg in a square hole. So what we wait for now is how he runs with governmental policies or advice on change or changes that will be needed to make sure that revenue problem is resolved. The president has said he does not believe in debt.
So we might not go
So
borrowing.
we are not seeing a Ministry of Finance that will be encouraging us that we can still go to borrow because debt to GDP is still okay.
As the
Remember, that was how we got to where we are. Who, instead of looking at debt to revenue, were looking at debt to GDP. So these are issues that if the ministers know, look at the one in works. We've just referenced him. If truly he does not play to the gallery, that what he said in the media, in the public space, is not for fun, but actually is going to set up that committee to review, to understand why Nigerian rules are failing, why reviews have to be done. Somehow, we are going to get credible answers to questions that have been begging.
Because of time, I've asked you what of the issue of the concrete roads. Is that where we should go?
Well, I am not an engineer, but if our terrain or some of the terrains in Nigeria require such, why not? Okay. Why use booty men that once the rains come, they are gone?
Okay, well, anyway, we'll leave that discussion for another day. And as much as we also would need to go on a break now. And well, when we come back, we'll continue our discussion centered on the 100 days in office of no other rather than President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But remember, I made promise within the week we'll also take 100 days of no other, but the executive governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oboriwori, and look at all of that. But let's start off with the federal, and that's what we're doing. But we need to go on a break, but be rest assured, when we come back, more discussion. As much as we even love to get your response, view, and comments, all centered on the big story for today. Let's go on a break.